George.
Mr. President, sa paglibot niyo po,
Hati tayo, George.
kumusta po ang assessment ninyo? Napapag-alam, nabibilisan po ba kayo? Ano po ang observations ninyo dito sa dalawang araw?
Hindi natin pwede sabihin na bibilisan tayo. Parang maski sino kausap ko, parating ko sinasabi na babagalan tayo para lalo makumayon. Yung maganda nakita ko itong araw na to, yung palengke, kunyari sa Palo, no? Nag-umpisa na nagbukas at saka sa alang-alang. So, bumabalik na yung normal na komersyo ng buhay. Dito sa Tacloban, napansin ko lalo itong hapon, dumami na yung gasolina na nabukas. Meron rin tayo nakita na pinangako ng luwa, at saka yung Tacloban na Water District, nababalik na yung tubig ngayong hapon. At may nakita tayong ebidensya na may mga lugar na naibalik na yung tubig. Mamayang gabi, ang promosyon natin sa Palo, umpisahan yung street lights. No? Yung street lights muna, kaya ibagong linya to, para pag may ilaw nakakabawa sila na potential ng krimen. At yung sa araw-araw, binibigyan tayo ng update ni Secretary Pitilla kung saan at least nabawasan na ng isang linggo yung tinatayang panahon para maibalik yung kuryente dito. Mga bangko, land bank muna, meron silang mga itatay yung mga ATM na ang gagamitin technology ay VSAT. So, para mabalik yung komunikasyon nila. Siyempre na-disrupt natin ang DPWH, for instance, dito yung kanilang chief finance official at isa sa mga missing, na-disrupt rin yung pagka-payroll nila para manunumbalik yung pagkakaroon ng banking by Wednesday. At itong araw na ito, walang tigil yung pagpapadala ng Secretary Bayan ng mga balita tungkol sa mga barko na idagdag para makatulong sa paglilipat ng mga relief goods mula Luzon at mula Cebu patungo dito at sa iba pang mga lugar ng Pinas.
Satisfied po ba kayo, Mr. President, dun sa progress?
Siguro importante balikan natin, no? Paano ba pag merong dumating na dilubyo sa atin? Meron kayo naasahan, for instance, sa mga local government unit, sila first responder, sasabihin ng kulang. Pag mobilize sa national government, punin yung kulang. Dito, alam mo naman, kanya sa Tacloban, no? Sa police, ilang beses ko na napakit sa inyo, 290 ang naka-assign sa Tacloban, may 20 ang naiwan. Yung transport infrastructure, dumating ka kunyari sa Tacloban Port o din sa airport, kailangan mo ng truck para dalhin doon sa Ibakan or maidiretso na sa mga barangay na may pangangailangan. Halos na ubos lahat ng truck. Kailangan lahat ng truck na ginagamit namin ngayon nanggaling sa iba't ibang lugar. Tulad ng Southern Leyte, pero iba galing Samar, pero meron rin mga galing pang Luzon. Yung ultimo truck na lang para maghatid. Dito sa Leyte province, 40 bayan, 3 lungsod ang inaasikaso. Nung nag-umpisa kayo sila Secretary Dicky para lalabing 8 yata, yun na na-provide ng Army at ng PNP. So, sorry, hindi pa lalabing 8 nung umpisa.
For the whole of?
For everybody here in Leyte. Ulit, no? Yung nakita naman yung mga truck, di ba? Nakataob, nakapatong sa mga bakod. No? So, ultimo yung gagamitin mong transport infrastructure, nawala. Tao, nawala. Yung mga kababayan naman natin dito, nawala, yung naghihintay na magkukumpas, wala kang komunikasyon, wala kang broadcast, wala lahat eh. So, kumbaga, unique itong nangyari sa atin to. Hindi tulad nangyari ng Pablo, meron kang Davao City na handa tanggapin lahat ng padadala para sa nasarita ng Pablo. Dito, yung hindi lang yung nawala ka ng komunikasyon, nawala ka ng kuryente, ultimo yung pagpapasok sa bawat lugar, tulad ng San Juanico Bridge, isa sa mga unang binuksan yan dahil talagang nabara rin. Dito sa lugar ng Giwan sa Eastern Samar, yung western at eastern na daanan, parehong sinabay na binuksan. So, yung pagpasok pa lang sa bawat bayan-bayan, nagka-problema na dahil nga wala kang komunikasyon. So, natandaan rin tapos si Yolanda dumating si Zoraida, nahinto pa yung operations na isang araw, yung sinugod lahat ng paraan. Kung kaya ng helicopter, kung kaya ng sasakyan, kung kaya ng sasakyan na panlupa, o kaya naman ultimo mga Coast Guard at saka Navy na vessels. No? Pero may mga ibang lugar, talagang naumpisa, motorsiklo lang makapasok, nilalakad pa ng tao. So, wala kang impormasyon na anong pakakailangan doon, ang hirap punuin yung hindi mo pa alam. Pero ngayon, itong araw na to, lalo na, sa kahapon, medyo pagbalik ko, last Sunday nandito tayo, ngayon bumalik tayo, na-clear na yung mga kalsada, medyo mas mabilis na yung daloy na traffic. Pero siguro pinakamagandang masabi natin sa lahat ng kababayan natin, medyo nagno-normal na. No? Nagbukasan na yung gasolinahan, yung bangko, magbubukas sa Merkules, palengke, meron ng mga nagtitinda. Kanina yung nakausap ko sa... Saan natin sa Batas?
Sa palo.
Sa Palo, galing na sa isang bayan rin ng Leyte, sa Tape, parang nagpadala ng kamatis, yung pinibenta sa palengke. So, bumabalik na yung komersyo, nag-normal na yung buhay. Stuck yata na yun.
Johnson?
Yes. Mr. President, thank you. I'm with Al Jazeera America. We would like to know, are you pleased with the pace of the rescue efforts? Are you satisfied that enough is being done quickly enough?
Hingila ko pamanin na ulitin ko yung sagot ko sa kanya. If this was unique, no? In the sense, though we're visited by about 20 typhoons a year, this time around the systems failed. Why did the systems fail? You have the normal response is our local government units form what they call the local disaster risk reduction management council. Various people are tasked to do so many things, from evacuation to preservation of peace and order and so on and so forth. Now, the extent of the destructive force of this typhoon was of such a magnitude that even the personnel involved in these local disaster risk reduction management councils were themselves victims. So, as an example, the police force in Tacloban City, for instance, numbers 290 and only 20 were able to report for work, or 20 were responding initially. You had a breakdown in power, you had a breakdown in communications, you had a breakdown in practically everything, even local transport. Assuming we're able to airlift the initial supplies, then you need trucking to bring them to the various areas, and the trucks no longer existed. They were also victimized by the flood. Pre-positioned relief staff by our Department of Social Welfare and Development, half of them were contaminated by the waves that are active. So you had in a sense a perfect set of factors that will make a difficult managing a difficult event even that much more difficult. Access to all of these areas was one priority. Getting the necessary information was another priority. We tried to employ all means possible to get to isolated communities. And so am I satisfied with the pace? I'm never satisfied when it comes to addressing the needs of our people. Therefore, whatever is achieved now, I always strive to increase the efficiencies of all systems of government. But again, and I think most of our people realize that this was, in a sense, a typhoon of such magnitude and such strength that it really overwhelmed the systems that were already in place. Then it tells us that perhaps there is a need to have a backup system in addition to those that are already existing, which are the local DMCs. So everything that's needed here has to be brought in, and not just in the surrounding areas, but more so from Luzon and Mindanao and all of that. We're an archipelago. It really takes time to be able to bring all of this stuff. Today, I understand a lot of the equipment needed to streamline the operations of the port have already come in. And there's all sectors have really been cooperating, private sector, international sector. The facilities here are compliments of the Australian people and government. So we are confident that what we were able to do last week, we will be able to surpass completely. And today, when I was going around various communities, they were already talking about seeds for replanting. They were talking about shelter, no longer about food. So that gives us an indicator that they're ready for the rehabilitation phase.
Why is it important for you, the president, to be here?
I think it symbolizes the fact that we, as a people, always band together in times of adversity. So I represent everybody else who is not from this area, attending to the needs of the people who were devastated by this thing.
But you could do that from the capital. Why are you here personally?
Well, it does add a little impetus to the people who are here on the ground if they know that I'm paying attention to all of the details and various other areas. And I guess I really want to for instance, I was in a repacking center and I told the people there who were all volunteers, remember that each family pack that you produce is sustenance for a family of 5 for 2 days. So that is, your effort is commensurate to their ability to survive through this crisis. I also talked to some of our people, heads of agencies, to actually man different areas where we feel there are bottlenecks and to declog the glitches in the system. So if I'm asking things of so many people beyond their normal scope of activities and jobs, then perhaps I should be the first to be willing to go that extra mile.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeremy Cook, BBC.
Mr. President, Jeremy Cook from BBC News. Given the scale of the disaster here, how important is the international element of the rebuilding, restructuring work, and how long do you anticipate you will need to have international presence here on the ground?
Well, we're still collating all of the data. For instance, we're now focused on the casualties. But there are a lot of areas that have very minimal casualties, but actually also have devastation in terms of their housing, which is made of light materials that weren't able to withstand. We want to rebuild them in a better situation, able to withstand the typhoons that come to our country every year. We average about 20. So how important is the international aid? One of the first countries that helped, of course, is the United States of America. We have 3 C-130s in our Air Force, and they provided massive lift capability from the onset. Initially, I think it was 2 C-130s and 6 of the Ospreys. They actually sent a carrier battle group together with all of its components, from water filtration to the helicopters, that enable us to really reach in a more timely manner all of these isolated island barangays and municipalities. The health facilities being given by Australia right now is attending to quite a number of, I think they've done already about 277. A lot of our hospitals were also damaged because of this typhoon. So the ability to have functional hospitals greatly reduces the suffering that people have to go through, and perhaps the extent of their injuries and disease. Expertise. Storm surges are, when we started out, people would think of typhoons only in terms of the wind. Then, of course, after the Fukushima incident, they started understanding tsunamis. The next step is understanding what a storm surge is. And unfortunately, the last one that struck this area was in 1984. So a lot of people don't have living memory of that incident. We have a 36,000 kilometer coastline, and we have to map out storm surge danger areas, and this is dependent on the topography next to beaches. Of course, more people working at the problem will give us the answers quicker. So at the end of the day, we're hoping to draw on the expertise of everybody willing to help us, augment the resources we do have, and get our people situated in a better situation at the quickest possible time.
Do you think that the international community is going to need to be here in the long term?
Well, we'll be very grateful if they do so, but we also understand everybody's capabilities, needs, and wants. But I think we, as a matter of prudent action, should be planning based on our resources and our capabilities and addressing our needs.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. Last question from Sona. Magandang hapon, Mr. President. Sir, have we discussed already how much will be the budget that will be used for rehabilitation? And just in case, how much will this be and how are we going to spend it?
How much it will be and how are we going to spend it? Well, we're actually having a budget meeting on Thursday. Hopefully that will push through by Thursday and nothing develops here. But give you an initial idea, just the food for Region 8 costs us about between 70 to 75 million per day. Okay. Housing, the initial figure is 318,000 for more weather-resistant housing for the socialized housing component. Fortunately for infrastructure, very few of our roads and bridges were damaged, if at all, your approaches to the bridges. We don't have the billion for power restoration. One of the issues is something like over 150 transmission towers of the national grid have been damaged. Now the question is, how do you pay for that? One avenue is NGCP will fund it, but they will ask the ERC for an adjustment of the rate to recover. Now, if that happens, then people who are recovering will be asked to pay higher for their power bills, which we don't want to happen. So I've tasked my legal counsel to study whether or not Palampaya would be the better avenue to restore this state asset. If you remember, the transmission lines are in effect just leased to the concessionaire and they are state assets. That way, the initial estimate is about $1 billion. And if we spend it from the Palampaya, which has 102 billion, negligible amount considering the amount of Palampaya, and spare the people who are recovering from having to pay more for their electricity. Now, I don't have the tally yet for agriculture. There is a demand now for certified seeds, so to be able to replant for the December cropping season. Coconut also. We have a program where you're assisted to replant your coconuts, but you're tasked also to intercrop, to increase the income of all the farmers. So hopefully that can be prevented in these areas where the coconut is not enough. Transport, again, we're supposed to improve Tacloban Airport. Now, what has come to my attention in the last 2 days is this half of this peninsula is prone to flooding, especially with storm surges. So that is being restudied as to whether this is the suitable area or not to build the airport. So they build. The concentration has to be feed the people, take care of the injured, ensure their health, and make sure they're sheltered before we handle all the other things. We have to put up priority.
Sir, how about the disaster response facilities? For instance, are we planning to buy more para po kasi mas
In the pipeline, we have actually, I think, 3 search and rescue helicopters. Pero, when you order, it's not an off-the-shelf item. You get it in the battle. There is a command ship. It can function as a command ship. It can be the hospital ship. It has landing facilities for helicopters. In terms of water filtration, power. So it can function as your movable response center. I think there are also various ships that we are also getting to enhance our capabilities. But one that I'm really very interested in is a communication systems that is not vulnerable to the vagaries of weather. Even if your communications infrastructure was not damaged and they didn't have power, there'd be no communication. So we might have to go back to even primitive systems like yung mga manpower generators and shortwave radios. But that is being studied now by the university. Of course, yung study on all the storm surge areas also has to be completed. I was told that one of the most studied areas, actually ironically, is this latest southern area. And this information has been given even as late as 2008. Part of the geohazard market. But when you look at our map, you see the coastline, and it's 36,000 kilometers. Then you have to identify each and every spot that is prone to this. And of course, if you remember when we started, people were familiar with storm signals, but nobody was cognizant of rain, amount of rain. So we have that scale to explain to people how much rain to expect. But the next level will be more indoctrination into storm surges. In E1, ironically, they had this wall that was a briefer on storm surges and what to do. And it has been put there quite a long time ago, it's kind of faded now. But the ongoing seminars that are being conducted by the OSD for geohazard in particular should perhaps be more accelerated.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you po.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
President, thank you very much. Appreciate it. From America, appreciate it. Would you say anything about climate change as a result of this storm?
Well, I have to use my province as a case in point. Farmers, for instance, farmers would plant with a certain certainty of when the dry seasons are. Now, unfortunately, you have, for instance, in my province, late November to February would be cool months. Suddenly, you had very warm months in this month. Patterns of typhoons, where do they normally go through? They avoid the bottom 2/3 of
Kanan kaliwa.
and in
Tulak mo. Okay na.
when Typhoon Pofa hit, it hit that portion where it normally doesn't hit. Central Mindanao and Southern Mindanao. Normally it hits the tip of Northern Mindanao. So there really seems to be a change of when this come in. Monsoons are enhanced tremendously. You have areas that will get in a month the whole year's rain precipitation. So is it a reality? We believe it is. We were hoping that somehow it was normalizing this year in a sense. And towards December, we're supposed to have no rains anymore. But for the last 2 years, we've had a major weather disturbance at the point in time when there are supposed to be no more weather phenomena, which is normally pegged at December. So it hits us December and January, and this year it's practically December again, and we get hit with a major one.
So the world should be watching.
Okay na ako ha.
I think that's
There's ka lang ha. Ilaw mo.
We had an international conference that I attended recently. I think it's a place called, it's a South Pacific nation called Kiribati. And they were already talking about migrating as an entire population because of water's rise by X amount of meters. It will completely, they fear it will completely inundate them. So it's an actual fear at this point already by a lot of countries, and the Philippines is not an exception.
Thank you.